All right, welcome to Pro Football, first 50 years, where we take the past and we bring it back to life. Now, I'm strictly talking the first 50 years here, 1920 to 1970. I mean, especially if you're going to go back in time and check out a game from like maybe the 20s or the 30s. I mean, oh, sure, you can go online, find a box score, who won, who lost, who scored a touchdown, how far a field goal was that someone kicked, where the game was played at, what the attendance was. You might find starting lineups for each team. But exactly what happened during the game? Well, thanks to old newspaper articles, we get to take a little bit of a deeper dive into each and every game during the first 50 years of professional football. Now, a little news flash here for you. Ain't no fancy videos or nothing like that here. All there is you and me for the next 30 to 60 minutes. So if that's all right with you, let's get it on. Today's game. Exhibition game. Be the final exhibition game in the season for both these teams. And my goodness, one team went this way, one team went that way. Holy cow, Batman. I mean, during the regular season anyway. The Philadelphia Eagles at the Los Angeles Rams at Memorial Coliseum. Exhibition game. September 19th, 1959. Well, I'll tell you what, the Eagles, for them, fantastic season. For the Los Angeles Rams, whew, it was a year to forget. Sid Gilman would no longer be their coach after the season. He would certainly go on to much better success in the AFL, coaching in the AFL. But the Eagles in 58 won only 2 games. 1959, boy, they turned it around. They won 7 games, were 7-5. And of course, in 1960, would win 10 games and win the whole kit and caboodle. The Rams, meanwhile, they were 8-4 in 1958. And they were, very, very close to, competing, winning the Western Division. But they were actually, they had some hope. After the first 4 weeks, they were 2-2. They were only 1 game out of first place. The Packers were in first place. They were 3-1. So were the 49ers. So after the first, 4 weeks, the Rams were only 1 game back, but they would not win another game the rest of the season. Let me pull up the start with the Eagles here first. Now, the Eagles are very, they would like win 2, lose 1, win 2, lose 1, win 2, lose 1, almost like the whole season long. They didn't have much success in the exhibition season, but once again, that was exhibition. Let's just see here, a little news flash here for you. Now, I'll tell you what, it might have been a heck of a ball game. Let me tell you what. But the Eagles would lose this one, 31-28. Once again, very, very entertaining. But you see right here, the Eagles were 2-4 preseason. Nothing super spectacular. But as I said, once they got to the regular season, I mean, they lost 1, then they won 2. Then they lost 1, then they won 2. Then they lost 1, then they won 2. Then they lost 1. I mean, it was just all season long. Lose 1, win 2. Lose 1, win 2. So they finished at 7-5. Really a very impressive season for the Philadelphia Eagles in 1959. I mean, if that's what that's the way to if you're doing bad, you want to improve the next season, and then of course you want to just keep going up, and that's what the Eagles did. They went from 2 wins to 7 wins to 10 wins, and they won the whole championship. But going with 3 weeks left in the season, the Eagles had 3 losses. The Giants had 2. So the Eagles were really only like 1 game out of first place with 3 weeks to go. They fumbled, bumbled, stumbled here as they played the Steelers in Pittsburgh. So that gave the Eagles 4 losses. Now they still had a chance. You're telling me we got a chance? Yes, I am. So what had to happen? And the final 2 weeks was because the Giants, going 2 weeks left, had 2 losses. The Eagles had 4. So the Giants would have to lose both their final 2 games, which didn't happen. And the Eagles would have to win their final 2 games, which, as you see here, did not happen for the Eagles to have a chance of maybe a tie. But yeah, it is what it is. But I said, all in all, very, very respectable season for the Philadelphia Eagles. Nothing to be ashamed about at all. They would finish tied for second place with the Cleveland Browns. Both those teams were 7-5. Meanwhile, the Giants were 10-2. But if we look here with the Rams, and we said the Rams had a nice preseason, but other than that, whoo, doggy. They had a whole lot of L's. Let me tell you what. As you see here, rather respectable. What were they? They won 3, they lost 2, and they tied 1. Yeah, all right. Once again, it's only exhibition, but once again, if you're playing a game, you want to obviously test out, your rookies and got teams maybe on the bubble. This who's going to win, win the jobs for the team. But if you're playing a game, hey, you want to win, right? 3, 2, and 1, not bad. But other than that, I said they started off 0-2. Then it just mind-boggling. They played and they went into Chicago and they beat the Bears 28-21. The Bears would be 8-4, and the Rams, who would only have 2 wins all year, would give one of their losses. And this was on the road too. Then the following week they would play Green Bay in Green Bay, and they would annihilate them 45. This might literally be the worst beating that, especially during the regular season, that Vince Lombardi ever had in his tenure, any tenure, with the Redskins or with the Packers. They beat them. Went into Milwaukee, and they beat the Packers and Vince Lombardi 45-6, and they stood at 2-2 after 4 weeks. But then you can just see after this, oh my goodness. Whole lot of L's. They would lose the final 8 games of the season. And, you can just see, they lost a tough one here, but lost another tough one here. A close one there. They lost by, 6 points here. Then they lost by 3 points in about after. You can just see, it was over, right? Then they lost by 14 there to the Colts, and then they lost by 18 to the Packers, and then they got killed here by the Colts. Although the Colts were winning this game 26-24 going into the fourth quarter. The Colts would put up 21 points in the last quarter. So the Rams, even in the final game against the best team in the league, they still had some fight to them. But as I said, just what happened? My goodness. Part of what I think might have happened was that they traded for Ollie Matson. They traded away like 9 guys to get Ollie Matson. They traded that with the Cardinals, and the trade really didn't seem to help either team. The Cardinals were still absolutely horrible in 1959, and the Rams traded away basically almost a whole unit. Right, an offensive, a defensive, 9 players to get 1 guy, and he had a couple good games. Yes, he did, absolutely. But they won 8 games in 58, and they won only 2 games in 1959. So it was not the best of times for the Los Angeles Rams. But as far as this game right here, very, very entertaining game. And it was, as you can see, it was played at the Memorial Coliseum. So let's go. What does Wikipedia have about the Memorial Coliseum? I'll tell you what, just absolutely beautiful, beautiful stadium. Some of my first recollections of it would be watching the Trojans from USC on in that stadium. Of course, I'm a Notre Dame fan. And so every other year, when I first started watching, I remember, I think it was 71 was the first time I started watching. But obviously every other year, 1 year USC would play in Notre Dame, and then the next year Notre Dame would play in USC. So obviously every other year I was seeing a game played in the Coliseum. Plus also usually on TV. You're going back, 55 years ago, it's early 70s, there was only, like maybe 3 college games on all day long. I mean, unlike nowadays, you have basically 3, 4, 5 games on every minute. I mean, while you're on, if you go from one channel to that, you can find easily 3, 4, 5 college football games on. I said, man, it wasn't that way back then. So I said, also, a lot of times the USC UCLA game would be on too, usually toward the end of the season. So, you have to see some games at the Coliseum. Plus, also, the Rams were playing there at the time, in the early 70s. So I remember watching, some of their games on TV. But let's go to Wikipedia here. All right, here we go. Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, a multi-purpose stadium in the Exposition Park neighborhood of Los Angeles. Conceived as a hallmark of civic pride, the Coliseum was commissioned in 1921 as a memorial to Los Angeles veterans of World War I. If you're gonna, dedicate whatever a stadium to the veterans, I love it, absolutely love it. I wouldn't be here right now making a YouTube video if it was not for the unbelievable men and women of our armed forces. So thank you. I get to do this because of you. So anytime you can dedicate a stadium or anything to the men and women of the armed forces, fantastic idea. Absolutely love it. I mean, it was just, what didn't it do, right? I mean, it hosted the Olympics in 32 and 84, and then it's supposed to host them again, I think, in a couple years from now, making, like, I think it's supposed to be will be like the first place has ever hosted the Olympics 3 different times. Let's see. The Coliseum was the home to the Rams from 46 to 79. I mean, Then they moved to Anaheim Stadium in Anaheim. Then they moved back there in 2016 to 2019 before they moved to SoFi Stadium in Inglewood. The facility had a permanent seating capacity of 93,607 for USC football and Ram games. I mean, my goodness. Making it, at the time, the largest football stadium in the Pac-12 conference and the NFL. It was also the temporary home to the Los Angeles Dodgers from 58 to 61. I'll show you a couple pictures. I think they have a couple of pictures. I think it's from the 59 World Series. I mean, you just look at it, the way that the diamond, the baseball diamond is situated inside Memorial Coliseum. It's like down one line. It's like, I don't even think it's like 300 feet. It's just really, really weird. Let's see. It's the site for Super Bowl I, Super Bowl VII. Let's see. The Los Angeles Chargers in their inaugural season, because in 1960 the Chargers were the Los Angeles Chargers, and then in 1961 they became the San Diego Chargers. The Los Angeles Raiders from 82 to 94. UCLA Bruins, of course. It's just absolutely classic. Let's see, where are we at? USC, right? Most of USC's regular home games, especially the alternating games between rivals UCLA and Notre Dame, attract the capacity. You got that right. I mean, you just look right here. I mean, you just walk up, and you just see this. I mean, it's just, my goodness, absolutely beautiful. Coliseum under construction in 1922 over here. See the Coliseum in 1923. Let's see. Many renovations been done throughout the year. Let's see, naming rights. What do we got? Notable events. Pomona. Check this out. On October 6, 1923, Pomona and USC played in the inaugural game at Coliseum. Pomona. The Trojans won 23-7. From 28 to 81, the Bruins also played their home games at the Coliseum. You got this here. Generals George Patton and Jimmy Doolittle at the Coliseum on June 9th, 1945. But you can see right here. I mean, look at this. Field dimensions for Major League Baseball from 58 to 61 when the Dodgers were in there. It was 300 feet down here. I know there's a picture of it. I can show you. But 251 feet. I mean, of course, there was a fence here. 251 feet down. They had to put a fence in like about 800 feet high. So every time there wasn't like a pop fly out the left field, it wasn't a home run. But you could just see, I mean, then it goes like straight out here. It's like 420 feet to dead center. Just crazy. But you also, I mean, it was also like, it wasn't, basically a baseball park. So this is just like a chain link fence going across. You know how today, or most of the stadiums, obviously had like an 8-foot high fence or 10-foot high, with maybe padding on it. Or Wrigley Field, you got the brick wall and with the ivy. But I mean, here was just a chain link fence. I'll show you. I mean, the left field fence was set at only 251 feet. It was crazy. Baseball Commissioner Ford Frick ordered the Dodgers to erect a 42 feet screen in left field to prevent a 251-foot pop fly from becoming home runs. Crazy. Here you go. Here's a good shot of it right here. I mean, see how? Look. This is the end of the infield right here. All right, so third base is here. The infield is right. The dirt right here. I mean, there's like, see how short they are? My God. Whew. Crazy. So that's what the Dodgers played at for, and it should be the Super Bowl one right here. That's for the Dodgers for the first 4 years that they moved. After they moved from Brooklyn to Los Angeles, they played in the Coliseum. I mean, oh yeah, Evel Knievel was in there. I mean, my goodness. Yeah, how beautiful is that? That's absolutely fantastic. I love it. Diego Maradona, the Coliseum in Argentina, played against Mexico in May of 1985. Concerts of all kinds, the Raiders, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff here. I mean, look at this. I mean, is that, how beautiful is that? I mean, look, it's just a sea of people. It's unbelievable. Absolutely beautiful. This is one of those things is that, you just so just happy, because a lot of these, obviously, the older stadiums have been around for a while. Some of them just start crumbling and falling apart. And, they got to get knocked down. Meanwhile, other ones, Wrigley Field, Fenway Park, the Coliseum, sadly, a precious few of them, been around for such a long time, but they're able to keep them around. So, I mean, that's just absolutely beautiful. So let's take a few pictures here. Screen. All right, got it. There we go. All right, so here we go, right? Where we got here? Oh, yeah, here's the, right? Once you can see that the screen is here, there's a pole here, then another pole over here. And you can just see, like, this is like a right over here. It's just like basically a chain link fence going across the outfield there. It's just crazy. You can see, I mean, the grass is here. I'm sorry, the infield dirt is here. And got like 100 feet or so, whatever, a little over 100 feet. Well, that's 90 feet. So this must be 125. So actually, you got from here to here is maybe about 120 feet, 125 feet, and then from here to the outfield wall, whatever you want to call it, is 125 feet. So it's whoops. I mean, really, really short. What do we got here? Here we go. There's a beautiful, beautiful picture. This is 1959. So possibly he hurt his wrist, but you can see there's a beautiful picture of the Rams uniforms, and you can see, yep, he's coming off the field. This is actually called dirt and grass. Of course, they don't have that stuff nowadays. You don't see guys coming off the field with dirt and grass on there. So that's a Bible, something gone with the years, right? You don't see dirt and grass on guys. Plus, also this too. You see, you got like knee pads here. Sometimes it seems like guys were out there like with shorts on and stuff, running routes, and they don't have any pads on or anything like that. A little different back in the day. Here's another beautiful picture here. They played the Lions. Lions won 23-17. Les Richter. Now, if you'll see right here, you see. Now this might be the game. See, look. See, he's coming off holding his wrist right here. Maybe. And then you see here, he's back in the game and it's all taped up. So, but I mean, look at that. I mean, look how beautiful, beautiful picture. Look at that. You see the lines, they don't have any emblems on their helmet at all. But there you go. Check it out. I'll tell you. Look at that. Look at the face mask. I mean, my goodness, look at that thing. Huh? That's old school there. Let's see. There you go. This is probably, I'm going to say, probably Super Bowl. The Super Bowl right here. Oh, yeah. Oh. Here, they return for the Super Bowl. Let's see. What other pictures they got here? Oh, here you go. Here's the base. There's the diamond right there. Right, so you can see this the fence right here, the screen. It's like 40 feet high. And then it kind of comes down on an angle over here. Then out here is just a chain link fence, I guess, going across the outfield. Just weird. I mean, just odd. You know, it's not something you normally see. Here we go, right? Another good picture of it right here. But I mean, just such a classic. I mean, you know, it's just, I'm not sure. Oh, that's baseball. 59 World Series. Yeah, okay, there you go. Games 3, 4, and 5 were all drew over 92,000 fans. 92,000, man. You know, usually have baseball games with 92,000 people, but the Coliseum did. Yeah, see, it's tough to see. There's like a chain link fence out there running across the outfield. Here's a program, 1959. There you go. The Rams and the 49ers, September 12th, 1959, Saturday. Okay, so that was prior to this week. That was that was their preseason game prior to this game. Was this one right here? I mean, just a classic looking program there. So the 19th, so the 19th obviously is a Saturday night. So September 19th was the Eagles, obviously the game we're talking about here. But so the week prior on a Saturday night, yeah, the Rams play the 49ers. Now it's just odd because, you know, usually, you know, they're in the same division, close, yeah, in proximity to each other and all that. You know, I mean, like usually nowadays, I mean, you know, you're really having the Giants playing the Eagles. Eagles don't play the Cowboys. You know, You don't play the team in your own division, but they did back then. But, you can also bet your bottom dollar that this game, let's see, went to the draw here. It was at the Coliseum. People drew. They had 50 and almost 60,000 fans. So this game here was not a sellout by any stretch of imagination, but still drew 60,000 fans for an exhibition game. So it's just an absolutely beautiful, beautiful. You know what I mean? I said this is, just man, that's beautiful. All right, so let's go here. We'll go to the Press Telegram, September 19th, 1959, of the Press Telegram. What do I got to say here? Got to find it. Here we go. The Press Telegram. Oh, they're making performance security verification. Oh, it was successful. Thank goodness. Rams toss tea party for Van and the Eagles. Now, let's not forget, Norm Van Brocklin was the quarterback for the Rams. So now he's with the Eagles. So Norm was with the Rams. I think it was 49, I think to 57, 58, 59, and 60. His final 3 years of his career, he was with the Eagles. So this is like Van Brocklin going back and playing the Rams. It's kind of like Bobby Lane going back and playing the Lions. So this is big. This was big. The stay-at-home Rams conclude their 6-game exhibition. Once again, 6 games. It's crazy, isn't it? Entertaining tonight at Coliseum when an old friend, Norm Van Brocklin, and the Eagles come calling at 8:15. And there'll be some words from Mr. Van Brocklin after the game was over. There will be some words. More than 50,000 are expected to attend the pre-league season and an ex-tea party, which should prove excellent. I have no idea. Barometer to the Rams. Interesting wind-up to the coaches. Oh, wait, no. Man, Lynn, I have no idea what that's trying to say there. And here he is. Mr. Flying Man, old friend of the Coliseum. All right. Let's see. Like the Rams, Van Brocklin and the Eagles are advocates of the rapid transit method of scoring. The Dutchman's passes are a fitting final exam for the home team's half-rookie pass defense. The Eagles have played exhibitions with both the Bears and the Colts, chief contenders for the Western Division crown, so Van Brocklin should have some interesting comparisons to make after the final whistle tonight. Last week, Van passed for 308 yards as the Eagles upset Baltimore. It was the first defeat for the Colts since the Rams turned the trick at the tail end of the 1958 season. Van Brocklin declared after that game that he felt the Bears were the team to beat in the Western Division. Ram rushers are hoping they can persuade him to change his mind tonight. If we can slow Norm down a little, I'll feel our pass defense men have done a good job, Gilman says. Rams will open with the same lineup, which rolled up 41 points in the first half against the San Francisco 49ers last Saturday night. Not sure what this says, and Tom Wilson will open on the bench with Billy Wade, John Arnett, Joe Marconi, and Jim Phillips starting in the backfield. John Baker, defensive tackle, will return to the lineup tonight, and the Rams will be at full strength. And there are the offensive and defensive lineups for each team. All right, so let's go to Los Angeles Mirror. September 19th, 1959 edition of the Los Angeles Mirror. What do they got to say? Yeah. September 19th, 1959 edition. Rams are favored by 7. All right. Place your money. Oh, we know. We need to refresh. Okay. The Rams tonight are in what may be their best position of the year to prove themselves the equals of the Colts and the Giants. They, too, with 3 box tops enclosed, can lose a game to the Philadelphia Eagles. The same opportunity comes up later in November when they play a gold coupon game at Philadelphia. The boys will include that one when they start counting their money, if any. This one tonight starts at 8:15, curiously enough, with a kickoff, and not so curiously, the Rams are 7-point favorites. Threatened rain is said to have turned away insofar as a major storm is concerned. It is the final preseason shakedown test before next Saturday night's opening league game with the Giants. It also the first all-out engagement between Norm Van Brocklin and Billy Wade since they met in some of those old intra-squad skirmishes when both were Rams. Philadelphia has a 2-2-0 record. Los Angeles 2-2-1. Van Brocklin has beaten Baltimore and New York while losing to Green Bay and by only 3 points to the Chicago Bears. The Rams have lost to Washington and Cleveland, tied Detroit, and beaten the Cardinals and the 49ers. Well, this is wrong. The Eagles they have a 2-3 record going into this game. They both have played 5 games, so that's a little typo error right there. And once again, here's the starting offensive units for both teams. And here's the rest of the roster. Now after the when the regular season starts, I think if I remember correctly, I think it was 35 players were on a team in 1958. Well, they bumped it up to 1. They bumped it up 1 in 1959. So it was 36 players were on a team. Unlike today, well, you get a 53-man roster, but you only dress 46. So I mean, obviously you got the nickel package, the dime package. This guy's specifically for special teams. This guy's the punter. This guy's especially the kicker. This guy especially just a long snapper. Well, it wasn't like that back then. I mean, guys got used back then. They said there was only 36 guys on the team when the regular season started. Let's see. A terrific air duel is expected with Van Brocklin thrown to such fine receivers as Tommy and McDonald. I'll tell you what, the Van Brocklin and McDonald combo, man. If they got started, boy, good luck trying to stop them. Let me tell you what, that Tommy McDonald was something special. Billy Barnes, Bobby Walston, Clarence Peaks, Dick Bielski, and Walt Kowalczyk. Wade to Del Schaffner, Jim Phillips, John Arnett, Leon Clark, Ollie Matson, Joe Marconi, and Clendon Thomas. The Rams are expected to have much the better of whatsoever rushing game goes on. For in Tom Wilson, Arnett, Matson, and Marconi, they appear to have ball carriers who are better than anything Buck Shaw can come up with. Yeah, Marconi, Arnett, and Ollie Matson. Yeah. It's a fine trio right there. All right, what else we got here? And we got the Los Angeles Evening Citizen News. So September 19th, 1959, of the Los Angeles Evening Citizen News. Rams face Van Brocklin. Eagles mates here tonight. And got to refresh. Los Angeles and Philadelphia Eagles wind up their National Football League preseason campaign tonight, with the Rams facing their one-time quarterback star, Norman Van Brocklin. The popular Dutchman will be making his first appearance in the Coliseum, where he performed in Ram regalia for 9 seasons since joining the Eagles 2 years ago. One of the great competitors of football, Van Brocklin would be like nothing better than to beat his former teammates, and particularly his former coach, Sid Gilman. Van Brocklin could do it if he has another night, such as a week ago when the Eagles whipped the champion Colts 35-13. Now, I mean, to be fair, Lenny Moore didn't play. Raymond Berry didn't play in this Colt game, and Johnny Unitas. So 3 Hall of Famers on offense did not start for the Colts. So Van Brocklin completed 15 of 28 passes for 308 yards and 3 touchdowns, all to halfback Tommy McDonald was unbelievable. He scored 4 touchdowns during the regular season against the Giants in the game. He caught 3 touchdown passes, and he ran a punt back for a touchdown against the Giants. And the Eagles whooped up on the Giants. What was it, 49-21, I think it was? I mean, but Tommy McDonald, I'll tell you what, I said, you get him going. Whew, man. Some 50,000 fans are expected for the 8:15 kickoff. Gilman's starting backfield, barring a late change, will have Billy Wade at quarterback, John Arnett and Jim Phillips at half, and Joe Marconi at fullback. Ready to step in as another unit are Ollie Matson and Tom Wilson. Del Schaffner and Leon Clark start at the ends. Coach Buck Shaw of the Eagles will have Van Brocklin, McDonald, Billy Barnes, and fullback Clarence Peaks in his opening backfield, with Bobby Walston and Dick Bielski at end. One of Shaw's stars, Pete Retzlaff, a favorite passing target for Van Brocklin, has an ankle injury and may not see action. And there's the starting lineups. Probable starting lineups, probable starting defensive lineups. And as you're looking for the numerical players, right, for the numbers for them, there you go. And they're your officials for the game. Now you notice here, I mean, we're a couple years away from the fearsome foursome rolling in. All the there we go right now. All they have right now is Lamar Lundy. Right. Deacon Jones, Merlin Olsen don't come around till the early 60s. And the Giants traded Rosie Greer after the 62 season. So in 63, Rosie Greer was with the Rams. So Lamar Lundy is there right now, but it has to wait a couple years to get the rest of the guys there. All right, so let's go now to what do we got? The Republican and Herald, September 19, 1959 edition of the Republican Herald. Republican and Herald. Let's see here. All right, what do we got? Rams bank on veterans. Whoops. Let's try this again. There we go. All right. Can 2 great but aging football veterans mean the difference between a second-place club and a championship team in the National Football League? The Los Angeles Rams are gambling that the answer to that question is yes, as far as they are concerned, with fullback Ollie Matson, who's 29, and end Gino Brito, who's 33. The Rams tied the Bears for second place last season in the league's Western Division. They had to give up 8 men and a draft choice for the speedy Matson and only 1 man for Brito, who is headed into retirement after 7 years as a defensive star for the Washington Redskins. In Brito's case, the question is whether he can stand up at 33 under the terrific punishment a defensive end must take in this league. In Matson's case, he appears to have the physical equipment. He's a magnificent specimen at 210 pounds, but standing 6 foot 2 inches. But can he fit into Coach Sid Gilman's system? Madsen had his preseason troubles playing at fullback and flanker back and halfback. Gilman wants his backs to know several positions so they can fill in if injuries crop up. Madsen thus has the job of learning 3 assignments in what is to him a new system. If Madsen runs at fullback during the regular season, Gilman will use John Arnett, the league's leading punt returner in 1958, at flanker back, and Tom Wilson, a reliable and sometimes spectacular 3-year vet. Billy Wade, the former Vanderbilt star, is the number 1 quarterback. Gilman expects Wade to make this, his 6th season, his best in pro ball. Gilman has another backfield he will use frequently. This puts Del Schaffner, normally an end, but an elusive ball carrier as well, into the slot back position. Red Phillips moves up to fill in at end for Schaffner, with Lamar Lundy or Leon Clark, fine pass catchers, at the other end. Well, Lamar Lundy was a defensive player too, so I'm not sure. Let me see here. Did he play any at all? Or is this who we got here? Did he play any? Lamar Lundy. Yeah, he played some right offensive end during the regular season. I don't know how much. I mean, he's 6'7", so that's a nice target. 6'7", 245 pounds for Lamar Lundy. But he also played left defensive end. He played right defensive end, and it looked like he had him in there a little bit of right offensive end during the regular season. So I've seen that as well. I mean, like Bob St. Clair. He's a Hall of Famer for the 49ers. He was a Hall of Fame offensive lineman. They used him also on the defensive line as well, too. So the Giants had Roosevelt Brown, Hall of Fame offensive lineman. But on goal line stands, they would put him in on the defensive line as well, too. So some guys got used both ways. As I said, when you only had 36 players on the team, sometimes you had to, step up in other positions, especially as we'll find out at the end here after this game is over. We'll find out there were quite a few injuries. And we only got, they had more players in this, obviously the exhibition games. But once the regular season starts, if they have a bunch of injuries crop up during a game, as we'll find out, that's what happened in this game. Sometimes if you're on defense, number might get called on offense as well, too. So you got to be ready. Offensive tackles are the agile 238-pound veteran Bob Fry and Charlie Bradshaw, a 265-pound second-year man. Dwayne Putnam, one of the league's best blockers, and John Hauser are set at offensive guards with steady John Morrow. This may be the year for the Rams if their veterans hold up, especially the new ones, Madsen and Brito. They might hold up, but I'll tell you what, it's not going to be their year. I can tell you that. All right. Well, let's see. So that is that. All right. So that's what happened during the game. All right. Let's find out. What do we got here? So we're going to start with the Los Angeles Times, the September 20th, 1959 edition of the Los Angeles Times. All right. Oop. And the Dutchman, Mr. Van Brocklin, issues a warning to the Rams. They better be ready when they come to Philadelphia November 22nd, growled Norm Van Brocklin last night after the Eagles got snookered by the Rams 31-28. The former Ram ace, incensed over rough play he attributed in the main to Les Richter, really let fly with some choice verbiage after the game. Richter is an overrated football player and an underrated politician. He cracked. He plays for the crowd. He's rough, but only after the whistle. The Rams gave Van Brocklin the big rush most of the evening, so much so that they almost blew the game by leaving themselves open to traps. Don Burrows got ejected for throwing punches. On one occasion, Van Brocklin pushed Richter after the latter drew a 15-yard penalty for shoving Gene Johnson. Richter, apprised of the Dutchman's comments, simply smiled and said, "I have no comment about anything in connection with Van Brocklin, except to say he's a good football player." Oh, I guess that's the politically correct answer to say. We've got to give him that. Ollie Matson, who tallied his first 2 touchdowns as a Ram after a somewhat disappointing start this season, grinned broadly as he accepted congratulations and said, "I was never worried. You have to start slow in this game." And that's what I did. Just trying to get my timing. I think I'm ready now. John Arnett left early in the second period with a slightly pulled thigh muscle, which should be okay for the Giants next Saturday. Asked to appraise the Rams after he'd cooled down a bit, Van Brocklin said, "You can't rest on your oars against them." And I guess we did a little of that after getting ahead. Coach Sid Gilman looked at it this way. We definitely weren't too sharp until late in the game, and it really hurt when we dropped some balls and had that interception. Billy Wade got the game ball and certainly deserved it the way he sparked that comeback. Leon Clark did a fine job for us catching passes, and I'm happy with Ollie Matson. He's a great runner. Ram Rally beats the Eagles. Let's see, did I get this here? Okay, continue from first page. So hold on, let's see here. There we go. All right. Wade outduels Van Brocklin before 46,570. Trailing by 21 points after 3 periods. I mean, it wound up being a heck of a game. Quarterback Billy Wade miraculously rallied the Ram forces last night in the Coliseum to lead the LA to a pulsating 31-28 victory over Norm Van Brocklin and his Philadelphia Eagles. A crowd of 46,570 turned out for the heralded quarterbacking duel between Wade and his erstwhile Ram teammate, Van Brocklin. The crowd was below expectations, probably due to the televised Dodgers-Giant baseball game. Yes. Much of the early fan shouting was prompted by favorable reports from the North. But in the last quarter, the rooting was all for the Rams as they hacked away at the Eagles' lead. With just 3 minutes of the game remaining and the Rams trailing 24-28, Wade coolly launched an overhead attack starting back on his own 25. 5 times on this march, he put the ball into the air. Red Phillips scored 2 for 18 and 8 yards. Leon Clark snagged 1 for 9. Tom Wilson's catch was good for 9, and a pitch to Ollie Matson, who lateraled to Wilson, gained 14. It was now 1 minute and 5 seconds to go. On the next play, Wade faked a pass, then ran to his right. He outlegged a host of Eagle defenders to personally tally the winning touchdown. Seconds later, the hotly contested final exhibition of the year ended as the players raced off the field. Bob Pellegrini, Eagle linebacker, and Les Richter, Ram middle guard, became involved in a brief scuffle. Ram Clancy Osborne threw himself into the dispute, which luckily was quickly broken up by cooler heads. Statistically, Wade and Van Brocklin came off about even. The Dutchman completed 16 out of 27 passes for 259 yards and 3 touchdowns. Wade was 15 out of 28 for 221 yards. He had 1 intercepted. Where Wade had an edge was in rushing. He carried the hide 4 times and gained 45 yards, including the big one that decided the game. And here we go to some stats right here. There you can see right here, yards gained running. And the Rams had 259 yards rushing. And they lost them. So 247, almost 250 yards running the ball. I mean, my goodness. 221. So they had a lot, what was that? 470 yards of offense. Whew. At 23 first downs, Eagles at 21. Very, very, very exciting game here. Let me tell you what. There's a rushing for the Eagles. There's the rushing for, Ollie Matson, 18 carries, 146 yards. Now, once again, it's the final exhibition game of the season for both teams, and both their starting quarterbacks went the whole game. You figure, you would put the backups in just to get them some practice because, unless like Van Brocklin gets injured, the backups are just going to be on the bench all season. Like Sonny Jurgensen. Why isn't Sonny Jurgensen in there? Why isn't Frank Ryan in there for the Rams? Right? But you see, once again, McDonald, only caught four, only four. Sometimes he catches more, but 4 for 93, almost 25 yards of reception. My goodness. That was unbelievable. Interceptions, the punting, Norm Van Brocklin, their starting quarterback, was their punter. So basically, he was also out there, if need be, to make a tackle. Del Schaffner, the end for the Rams, he was the punter. But you see, they did a pretty good job. Del Schaffner, 44.5 yards. Van Brocklin, the quarterback for the Eagles, almost 43 yards a punt. Very impressive. Very impressive. All right, where are we at here? Where am I at? Oh, boy. Matson stands out. Van Brocklin, never a runner, naturally didn't try, although on 3 occasions he had to do a lot of fast shuffling to avoid Ram Red Doggers who broke through to throw him for losses. Whereas Wade was the Rams' overhead star, Matson was the big noise on the turf, replacing Joe Marconi at fullback after the first quarter. Matson went on to enjoy his greatest game as a Ram. The former Cardinal packed the ball 18 times and gained 58 yards, including one dash that went for 58 yards. Something's wrong there. Well, let's see. He 146 yards, including one for 56. So, fortunately for the Rams, this latter sparkler was nullified 3 plays later when Wade's pass intended for Clark in the second quarter was intercepted by Lee Riley on the Eagles' 6 team. Along with his running, Matson contributed a pair of touchdowns. The first he's been able to score in a Ram uniform. And there's Billy Wade right there. Halfback Billy Barnes was a big rusher for the Eagles. He picked up 80 yards and 18 carries. For the most part, Barnes made his gains on draw plays up the middle. For the second week running, the Rams made more yardage on the ground than in the air. Rushing, Los Angeles netted 247 against 129 for Philadelphia. The passing yards favored the visitors, 259 to 251. 2 teams were deadlocked 7-7 after 1 quarter. Then, in an 84-yard drive, the Rams drew first blood when Marconi plunged 1 yard over center to wind up an 84-yard drive that ate up 14 plays. Philadelphia came back in 9 plays, had a TD when Van Brocklin passed 12 yards to Bobby Walston, who outjumped Ram defenders Ed Meador and Will Sherman in the end zone. At halftime, the Eagles were in front 14-7 after rookie Theron Sapp from Georgia blasted 1 yard over center. This play was set up by a 38-yard Van Brocklin to Sapp pass. It was helped along when a personal penalty foul on Richter moved the ball 15 yards nearer to the goal. The Eagles scored twice in the third while blanking L.A. First touchdown after intermission came on a Van Brocklin pass to Walston, pass good for 19 yards. When hit by rookie tackle John Lovatier, Walston lateral to Ken McAfee, who carried the ball into the end zone. The play gained 63 yards. For the Eagles' fourth and final goal, they went 54 yards in 3 plays, capped by Van Brocklin's 41-yard pitch to Tommy McDonald. Then came the big Los Angeles explosion. It started when Wade passed 50 yards to Clark, who later took another throw, good for 14 yards. Phillips and Wilson also chipped in with receptions of 9 and 14 yards, respectively. When Matson dashed 3 yards through left tackle, the Eagles' margin was trimmed to 28-14. Sapp fumbled after the kickoff, and in 3 plays, the Rams traveled 19 yards for their third touchdown. Again, it was Matson who carried the ball across, this time from 8 yards out. The final margin of victory actually occurred on the next Rams score when Jack Morris kicked a 42-yard field goal. With 5 minutes remaining, the Eagles couldn't make yardage, and Van Brocklin was forced to punt from his 27. Safety man Meador took the punt, but in trying to get away was thrown for a 10-yard deficit back to the Eagles' 25. From here, the Rams went all the way to hang up their most exciting victory of the year. An account of this game wouldn't be complete without mentioning some of the defensive heroes. Halfback Brookshire and tackle Ed Kayat were all over the premises for the Eagles. Rookie Lovatier again served notice that he wants to make this year's Ram squad by his fine play in the line. Ram rookie defensive halfbacks Meador and Frankhauser were given a bad time as Van Brocklin repeatedly took advantage of their inexperience. But the two were bailed out in the end by Wade, Matson, and a group of fine Rams receivers. And there's the lineups once again, and just according to this, it was 28-7 going into the final period, and they scored 24 points. Wow! All right, now we got the Philadelphia Inquirer, the September 20th, 1959 edition of the Philadelphia Inquirer. If you hear snoring going on, that's my dog, Randy. Just pay no mind. He's very good at sleeping. Let's see. Let me just refresh this just in case here. Okay. Rams get 24 points in the fourth quarter to defeat the Eagles 31-28. All right. Los Angeles Rams came up with 3 touchdowns and a field goal in the fourth quarter to edge the Philadelphia Eagles Saturday night 31-28 in the National Football League exhibition. A crowd of 46,570 witnessed the spectacular comeback as quarterback Billy Wade won over his old teammate Norm Van Brocklin of the Eagles. Wade ran 15 yards for the winning touchdown with 1 minute, 3 seconds to go. Van Brocklin threw 3 touchdown passes, and the Eagles apparently had won with a 28-7 lead going into the last period. Ollie Matson scored from the 3 and the 8 for the other 2 touchdowns for the Rams, and Jack Morris kicked a 42-yard field goal. The Rams drew first blood when quarterback Bill Wade and fullback Joe Marconi combined on an 84-yard drive in 14 plays, with Marconi going over from the 1. Jack Morris booted the extra point. But Norm Van Brocklin took the Eagles right back following the kickoff, and in just 9 plays, 4 of them Van Brocklin completions, the visitors went 63 yards, with the touchdown coming on a 12-yard pass to end Bobby Walston. Walston converted just before the first quarter ended. The Eagles took a 14-7 halftime lead as Van Brocklin carried Philadelphia 96 yards in 16 plays. The biggest gainer was a 38-yard completion to Theron Sapp, followed up by a 15-yard roughing, the passer penalty against the Rams, Les Richter, I'm sure. Sapp went over from the 1, and Walston again converted. It took 2 big defensive breaks for the Eagles to hold their lead. Lee Riley swiped a Wade pass on the Eagles' 5 to stop 1 Ram drive, and Gene Johnson fell on a fumble deep in Philadelphia territory to stop another Ram advance. The Eagles made it 28-7 at the end of the third quarter on two brilliant Van Brocklin passes. Dutch broke through early in the quarter on a 63-yard pass play to Walston, who lateraled to Ken McElfee for the final 44 yards. Late in the quarter, Tommy McDonald got behind a confused Rams secondary and easily caught a Van Brocklin pitch for 41 yards and a touchdown. Walston booted his fourth straight. And there's the, once again, oh, we got a little bit of action here. George Gale Harris grimaces. White Sox catcher Sherm Lawler rolls over him after taking him out in the third inning. Wow. He tried to score an Al Kaline single. Oh, it was rough back then. Oh, yeah. All right, so now we got, what do we got? We got the Independent. September 20th, 1959 edition of the Independent. Let's see here. All right, like this. Let me just refresh this just in case, because it might wind up screwing up. We actually got a picture here. What do we got? Rams John Arnett is stopped for a short game by a host of Eagle tacklers on Saturday night. Steam from the showers wasn't the only steam filtering through the Philadelphia Eagle dressing room Saturday night after the Rams' 31-28 victory in the Coliseum. Virtually the entire Eagle squad was boiling over the performance of Ram linebacker Les Richter, who engaged in half a dozen fights on the field during the game and was the center of a free-for-all just as the final gun sounded. Save for me, gasped weary Eagle quarterback star Norm Van Brocklin, that Mr. Richter is a very overrated football player and a very underrated politician. I got my fill of that jerk in 4 seasons with the Rams, but tonight he showed me even more than I expected. He clobbered me 6 or 8 times after I threw passes and really threw the punches at our runners. We're used to rough football in this league, but you get mighty tired of punks like Richter going with that dirty stuff after every play is over. He's supposed to be such a great linebacker, but I say phooey. He's for the birds. Richter, incidentally, was assessed a 15-yard penalty for hitting Van Brocklin in the ear in the third quarter. Eagle linebacker Paul Pellegrini from Maryland was equally loud against Richter. I didn't play opposite Richter at all because when I was on defense, he was on the bench, said Pellegrini. But in 3 seasons of pro ball, I never saw any guy throw those groin punches like Richter. I was on the sidelines and saw him clear as a bell. That's why I jumped on him after the game. I was disgusted with his lousy play. Billy Barnes of Wake Forest, who slammed the ball to the ground in disgust when Richter jumped on his head after he was tackled one play, commented angrily, a guy has to be a real, let's go to the next one here, the next page, for the Sunday, September 20th, 1959 edition of the Independent. Get this up here. All right, so let me just refresh this just in case, because it might wind up screwing up. All right, so it continued. What do we got here? All right, here we go. And that said, guy has to be a real creep to belt another man on the head or in the guts on every play. Richter's got to be the biggest crumb I've ever played against in 10 years of college, high school, and pro ball. Van Brocklin had one parting comment. We'll all be ready for the big jerk November 22nd. Wait and see. That happens to be the date the Rams meet the Eagles in Philadelphia in league play when it counts. All right, so let me go back here. And so they were not too happy. There we go. Wade hot and frantic comeback. If the team is from Los Angeles, never counted out. Norm Van Brocklin and an estimated 46,507 transistor radios made their appear rather foolish for three-quarters Saturday night, but the Rams finished like Silky Sullivan at his ever-loving best to a record of 31-28 victory over the Philadelphia Eagles. Down 21 points with exactly 10 minutes left to play, the Rams scored 24 points in a wild finish that culminated in a short but torrid wrestling slugging battle between Les Richter and Bob Pellegrini of the Eagles. Details of the fourth quarter scoring may be found nearby. Suffice to say that the Ram quarterback Billy Wade got the game ball for applying the coup de grace to the big lead piled up by Van Brocklin's fine passing. For the first three quarters, Van Brocklin kept his ex-mates in the hole, and the biggest cheers from the crowd came each time that the Dodgers had big moments at San Francisco. But in the fourth period, the crowd turned their radios down a bit, and Van Brocklin was forced to take a back seat to a brilliant rally. The game easily was the hardest-fought exhibition this reporter ever has seen. Richter and Van Brocklin got into it early after Les ragdogged and rolled around on top of Van for a full 10 seconds after the whistle sounded. Later, Don Burrows was ejected after a short fight. Then win brought the two Rams exhibition record to 3-2-1, and the Eagles marked to 2-4. Next Saturday night, NFL opener with the Giants may seem tame by comparison. First quarter, the Rams drove 84 yards in 14 plays to draw first blood. Sparking the drive were fullback Joe Marconi and quarterback Billy Wade. Marconi picked up 25 yards and 3 carries. Wade ran twice for 21 yards and completed 2 passes for 27. Marconi hit the left side of the line for a yard out for the touchdown. Time 4:07 left in the first quarter. Van Brocklin's passes sparked a 63-yard Eagle March, which culminated in the tying touchdown in the fading seconds of the quarter. Let's see here. Van completed 4 or 5 aerials for 51 yards. The final one, 12 yards up the middle to end Joe Walston for the touchdown. Walston took the ball between 2 Ram defenders in the end zone. Walston converted. Time, 2 seconds left in the first quarter. In the midst of an Eagle March, Les Richter red-dogged and smacked into Van Brocklin just as the Dutchman lateraled to a halfback. The play was long whistled dead before Richter stopped rolling on his ex-teammate. And he was able to stay. They didn't kick him out of the game or anything. Obviously angered by this play and Richter's roughhouse of pass receiver Sapp on the very next play, Van Brocklin had heated words with Les. He also had a touchdown 2 minutes later. Van's passes accounted for 69 yards and a 91-yard drive. Sapp scored from less than a foot out. Walston converted. Time 6:45 left in the first half. The quarter also featured Ollie Matson's first great run as a Ram. Ollie turned right end, hurdled a would-be tackler, and pulled loose from another en route to a 58-yard gain. He was finally tackled while running laterally to avoid 3 Eagles. Third quarter, more Dutch treat. A fine catch and a bit of quick thinking by Walston gave the Eagles their third touchdown early in the second half. Walston took a short pass up the middle from Van Brocklin just before he was hit at the Ram 40 and lateral to Ken McAfee, who went the rest of the way untouched. The play covered 63 yards in all. Walston converted. Time 12 minutes, 37 seconds left in the third quarter. Van Brocklin and McDonald fooled the Rams secondary with ridiculous ease for the 4th Eagle touchdown. Van badly rushed, fired to McDonald just before he was tackled. McDonald took the ball on the Ram 14, who's 10 yards behind Don Burrows, and loped to pay dirt. Play was good for 41 yards. Walston converted. Time 4 minutes, 22 seconds left in the third quarter. Fourth quarter, Dodgers have no Patton. Ollie Matson scored his first touchdown as a Ram at the tail end of a 90-yard drive. The 9-play drive featured Wade's passing. Longest gain was a pass over center to Leon Clark for 14 yards. Matson ran 3 yards over the left side for the TD. Morris converted. Time 9 minutes, 33 seconds left in the game. Less than 2 minutes after he got his first Ram touchdown, Matson hit pay dirt again. This time, Ollie went 8 yards off left tackle for the score after Lamar Lundy recovered an Eagle fumble on a Philadelphia 19. Wade's 17-yard pass to Clark set up Matson's run. Morris converted. Time 7 minutes, 56 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Jack Morris, who coached Sid Gilman, said he has limited range as a place kicker, booted a 42-yard field goal that split the uprights and had distance to spare. Eddie Meter held instead of Don Burrows, who did not play in the fourth quarter. Time 4 minutes, 45 seconds left in the game. Wade was brilliant as the Rams marched 74 yards in 2 minutes and 7 plays. The Rams got the ball on their own 26 with exactly 3 minutes to play. Wade hit Clark for 14, Phillips for 18, Wilson for 8, and Phillips for 8 to give the home team a first down on the Eagles' 29. On the next play, Wade passed 9 yards to Matson, who, as he was hit, lateraled to Wilson. Wilson went out of bounds on the Eagles' 15. Wade then rolled out around right end when he found no receivers or defenders on that side. Wow. Headed straight for the coffin corner, he dove the final yard as Ram fans went, wow. Morris converted. Time 1 minute left in the game. So, seemed like it was a little bit of a rough affair out there. All right, and I finally got, let's see here. Got to find it. This might be it. Is this it? Let's see. Okay. All right. Eagles add 2, drop pair, 9 hurt in the Rams game. All right, what we got here? Palo Alto, California. The Eagles began preparations today for their National Pro League opener against the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday with one of its heaviest casualty lists they have had in years. So this was a rough game. No fewer than 9 players were banged up Saturday night, and their absence in the last period probably cost the Eagles a victory. Saying that's possible in their exhibition finale with the powerful Los Angeles Rams, who were favored to win the NFL Western Division title. Well, that didn't happen. The Rams scored 24 points in the fatal period and managed to eke out a 31-28 victory over the Eagles. Those who sat out this period with injuries were defensive tackle Marion Campbell, severe laceration of the chin that required 12 stitches. Center linebacker Chuck Weber, ankle sprain. Defensive tackle Ed Cook, ankle sprain. Guard Darryl Oshbacher, contusions of the knee and ankle. Wow. Linebacker and guard Tom Lauterbach, thigh contusion. Halfback Billy Barnes, contusion of the elbow and sprained back muscle. Wow. Offensive tackle Proverb Jacobs with whiplash injury of the neck. Offensive tackle J.D. Smith, possibly torn ligaments of the knee. Wow. And defensive halfback Lee Riley, pulled thigh muscle. They cut 2 players. Immediately on arriving here, the Eagles cut 2 more players from the squad and welcomed 2 new arrivals. They also put Cook on the injured reserve list. Those placed on waivers were Ed Meadows, veteran defensive end, and Alan Miller, rookie defensive halfback from Boston College. Meadows, who had previous experience with the Chicago Bears and the Pittsburgh Steelers, had several run-ins with the brass, and yesterday he missed the plane to San Francisco, and the axe that was hanging over him fell. Players who joined the battered troop were Bob Newman, former All-American quarterback from Washington State, and Joe Robb, defensive end and linebacker who had been put on waivers by the Chicago Bears. The Eagles lost no luster in their loss to Los Angeles when they defeated the 49ers the previous week, 48-14, until the final quarter. The Birds, who had 11 rookies, held a 28-7 lead over the experienced and talent-loaded Rams. We just ran out of steam, said Coach Buck Shaw. And we had so many injuries, I thought at one time I would have to play myself. Ollie Matson was the difference. The tall 230-pound, I'm not even going to bother saying that word, traded to the Rams for 9 players, carried the ball 138 yards on 18 carries with one sprint. And then the other one, I think it said 148 yards or 149 yards. So, yeah, on 18 carries with one sprint, covering 58 yards and scored 2 touchdowns. In a fourth period, the 16-yard scoring jaunt, Matson ignored his blockers on the right side and swung to the left to go over untouched. Coach Sid Gilman has criticized the former Olympic hurdler for not following his blocking, but Norm Van Brocklin, who left the Rams for the Eagles after differences with Gilman, said, "I just say to Matson, take the ball and get me a touchdown. He can make it wherever there is daylight." All the Eagles agreed that the Rams, with runners like John Arnett, Joe Marconi, Tom Wilson, and Ollie Matson, are the most powerful offensive team in the league. But along with Van Brocklin, they expressed doubt that the Rams would win the league title. I mean, the Ram, especially they had Del Schaffner too. I mean, he was a phenomenal. He got traded to the Giants, and he teamed up very well with Y.A. Tittle when Y.A. Tittle got traded to the Giants as well. I mean, Schaffner and Tittle. I mean, Schaffner's one of those not quite, Hall of Fame. But, I mean, he put up some really good numbers, but he had a really good quarterback throwing him the ball. Billy Wade was an okay quarterback, but he was no Y.A. Tittle. He was no John Unitas. He was no Norm Van Brocklin, right? But the Rams they had a very, very good offense. You can tell, between the players, the running backs and the wide receivers, they were very good. It's just that it was one of those seasons they just couldn't put it all together. And it was time for a change. Sid Gilman left, and he went to the AFL, where once again he had a very good career in the AFL. And for the Eagles, as I said, they only won 2 games in 1958. They won 7 games in 1959, and I read articles where Chuck Bednarik, this was his final season in 59. Well, it wasn't he would come back in 1960. Good for them, because he was certainly a huge part of that Eagles team that won 10 games and handed Vince Lombardi his only postseason loss, as the Eagles would beat the Packers 17-13 in the 1960 championship game at Franklin Field. So that's the way it was on this date, September 19th, 1959, as the Philadelphia Eagles took on Les Richter, the Los Angeles Rams at Memorial Coliseum in an exhibition game in pro football's first 50 years. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.